What if your real wealth is not what you leave to people?
Every story's got a spark, and every spark's got a name. This is the journey of finding mine. Who am I when the lights go low? Who am I when the world says no? Searching through my past, trying to free my soul. One truth at a time, letting every story unfold.
See, everybody wants to leave something behind: a name, a reputation, a memory, a mark, a story that lasts beyond their lifetime. But hold on. What if legacy is not mostly about what you accumulate? What if it is not the house, not the title, not the bank account, not the applause, not the image people saw on the outside? What if legacy is deeper than success? Here's the truth. People may forget what you own, but they will remember how you made them feel, how you lived, what you stood for, and what your life planted in theirs. See, that changes the conversation, because now legacy is no longer something reserved for famous people. It is no longer something only built by the wealthy, the celebrated, or the historically recognized. Now, legacy becomes personal. Legacy becomes daily. Now, legacy becomes a question of the life you are living right now. And here's the contrarian truth for today. Legacy is not built at the end of your life. Legacy is built in the way you live every single day. It is built in your choices, your values, your word, your consistency, your sacrifice, your integrity, your example, your courage. It's built through your love, your discipline, and your presence. So today, I want us to sit with the question that is both beautiful and sobering. What will people remember when they say my name? That is where we're going today. Today's conversation is one that I believe every person needs to hear, no matter your age, no matter your background, no matter what season of life you're in. Because legacy is often treated like something distant, something for later, something older people think about, something you worry about once your life is almost over. But legacy is not just about the end. Legacy is about the direction of your life right now. It is about what your life is teaching others, what your values are revealing, what your example is producing, what your presence is depositing in the people around you. And today's central question is simple but deep. What will people remember when they say my name? Not just what did I own, not just what did I achieve, not just how impressive did I look, but what did my life actually leave behind? And that's what we're talking about today. But before we go any further, let's do what we always do here. Let's pause, take a breath, and let me ask you something honestly. How are you doing today? Not just physically, not just professionally, not just publicly, but inwardly. How is your heart today? Have you been moving with intention or just moving with routine? Have you been preset in your life or just rushing through your days? Have you been thinking deeply about what matters, or have you been so busy surviving that you haven't had time to reflect on the kind of life you're actually building? Because sometimes life gets so hard, so busy, so full, of pressure and responsibilities that we stop asking deeper questions. Questions like, what am I really living for? What am I building? What am I leaving in people? What kind of life am I shaping through my daily choices? And maybe for some of you, this episode is arriving right on time. Because maybe you've been busy, but not deeply fulfilled. Maybe you've been productive in public, but reflective in private. Maybe there's a part of you that has been craving a life that means more than just getting through the next week. If that's you, then sit with this moment. You do not have to rush through it. You do not have to perform. You do not have to give a polished answer. But just ask yourself, am I living in a way that builds something meaningful beyond me? And wherever your honest answer lands you today, let that answer open your heart for this conversation. Because today is not about guilt, it is about awakening. And as you sit with that, as you reflect on how you've been living, what you've been prioritizing, and what kind of life you are really building, it brings us naturally into the heart of today's conversation. Because the truth is, every person is leaving something behind. Every day you speak, you leave something. Every day you love, you leave something. Every day you choose, you leave something. Every day you show up, withdraw, encourage, ignore, build, or break, you are leaving something. And whether we realize it or not, those somethings become legacy. So let's go there. So when I think about legacy, I don't first think about money. I don't first think about fame. I don't first think about possessions. I don't first think about public recognition. I think about people. I think about mentors, family members, leaders, voices that shaped me. People whose names still carry weight, not because of what they had, but because of what they planted. See, some people leave behind more than just memories. They leave behind wisdom. They leave behind courage. They leave behind values. They leave behind standards. They leave behind examples. They leave behind faith. They leave behind love that keeps living in the hearts of the people they touch. That, my friend, is legacy. Legacy is what remains when the moment has passed. Legacy is what keeps speaking when your life is no longer in the room. Legacy is the influence of life that continues reaching beyond its own timelines. And when you really begin to understand that you realize legacy is not just something you think about one day, it is something you are building right now. So legacy is about impact, not possessions. Legacy is about impact, not possessions. See, that matters because we live in a world that often confuses accumulation with significance. If you have more, people assume you are doing better. If you own more, people naturally assume you are leaving more. If you collect more success, more status, more visible proof of achievements, people automatically assume that means your life carried greater value. But material things are limited. Possessions have a place, yes. Achievements has a place, yes. Stewardship matters, yes, but legacy is deeper than what you own because ownership does not automatically equal impact. You can leave behind a full house and still leave behind an empty example. You can leave behind wealth and still leave behind wounds. You can leave behind success and still leave behind confusion. So the deeper question is not simply, what did I gain? The deeper question is, what did I give? What did I pour into others? What did I model? What did I stand for? What kind of values did my life reinforce? What kind of emotional and spiritual inheritance did I pass down? Because when people speak your name years from now, what will come to their mind first? Will they remember your generosity? Will they remember your wisdom, your honesty, your love, your consistency, your integrity, your discipline, your faithfulness, the way you encourage them, the way you help them believe in themselves, the way you stayed steady in difficult times? That is real impact. And psychologically, impact matters because people are deeply shaped by the examples they experience. Human beings learn not only through instructions, but through observations. See, we remember what people model, we absorb what people normalized, we carry the emotional tones of how people treated us. We internalize the standards we were surrounded by. That means your life is teaching people even when you are not speaking. Think about that. Your habits are teaching. Your priorities are teaching. Your responses are teaching. Your attitude under pressure is teaching. The way you handle people is teaching. That is why legacy is so powerful. It is not just about what you leave behind physically. It is what your life has formed in others emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and morally. And once you understand that legacy is about impact, not possessions, another truth becomes clear. Legacy is not built in one grand moment. It is built piece by piece, day by day, choice by choice, which brings us to the next point. Every choice is a brick in your legacy. That may be one of the most important truths in this whole episode. Because sometimes people imagine legacy as one big event, one huge accomplishment, one major breakthrough, one unforgettable achievement. But most legacies are not built that way. Most legacies are built quietly. A decision here, a sacrifice there, a hard choice, a faithful step, a consistent habit, a consistent act of courage, a disciplined moment, a choice to do what is right when it would have been easier not to. That is how legacy is built, brick by brick. And that metaphors matter because a brick by itself may not look like much. One brick does not look like a house. One brick does not look like a building. One brick does not look impressive. But enough bricks laid with intention over time become something strong enough to stand. And that is how your life works. Every day you are laying bricks. The way you talk to your family is a brick. The way you handle disappointment is a brick. The way you keep your word is a brick. The way you respond when nobody is watching is a brick. The way you love people when it is inconvenient is a brick. The way you stay committed to your values is a brick. The way you recover from failure is a brick. The way you use your influence is a brick. And that means legacy is being built whether you are intentional about it or not. That's worth sitting with. You are leaving something already and you don't even realize it yet. So the only question is whether what you are building is accidental or intentional. And from a psychological perspective, repeated choices becomes identity patterns. What you repeatedly do shapes who you become. What you repeatedly practice reinforces your character. What you consistently normalizes becomes part of your internal structure. So if you repeatedly choose integrity, integrity grows. If you repeatedly choose discipline, discipline grows. If you repeatedly choose service, humility grows. If you repeatedly choose selfishness, that grows too. If you repeatedly choose avoidance, that becomes a part of your life as well. See, every choice matters because every choice is laying something down in the structure of who you are becoming. So let me ask you something. What kind of brick have you been laying lately? Have you been laying bricks of patience or irritation? Have you been laying bricks of purpose or distractions? Have you been laying bricks of truth or performance? Have you been laying bricks of compassion or emotional distance? Have you been laying bricks of courage or compromise? Because your future legacy is not disconnected from your present habits, it is being shaped by them. And if every choice is a brick, then the next thing we have to face is this: bricks do not place themselves, which simply means legacy requires intention. I think often about the people who leaves a mark on us, not just public figures, not just people with platforms, but the everyday people whose lives spoke loudly. Maybe it was a parent who didn't have everything materially, but gave you values that still guides you today. Maybe it was a mentor who saw something in you before you saw it in yourself. Maybe it was a leader who showed you that integrity matters more than image. Maybe it was a family member who worked hard, sacrificed, stayed faithful, prayed for you, encouraged you, and left behind something greater than money. So when I think about legacy, I think about those kind of people. People whose name carry more than memory. Their names carried substance. Their names make you remember how they lived, how they treated others, what they stood for, how they endured, how they loved, how they taught, how they showed up. And what's powerful is that many of them did not know in that moment how deeply they were shaping others. That's another truth about legacy. You may not always see the full impact of your life while you're living it. A kind word may outlive the moment. A faithful example may outlive the season. A standard you keep may outlive your timeline. See, a lesson you teach may echo in someone's life long after you're gone. That is legacy's influence. And it should humble us because it means our lives are never as isolated as we think. We are always affecting someone. So remember this: legacy is always intentional. It doesn't happen by accident. Legacy is intentional. It doesn't happen by accident. You do not drift into meaningful legacy. You build it, not perfectly, not all at once, not without mistakes, but intentionally. Because what lasts is usually the result of what was chosen on purpose. Healthy families don't happen by accident. Stronger character doesn't happen by accident. Integrity doesn't happen by accident. Wisdom doesn't happen by accident. Impactful lives does not happen by accident. They are built through intentions, through reflections, through values, through decisions, through discipline, through knowing what matters most and aligning your life with it. And that's where many people struggle because we all want meaningful outcomes, but meaningful outcomes require meaningful alignment. You cannot say you want to leave a legacy of love while living selfishly. You cannot say you want to leave a legacy of integrity while constantly compromising. You cannot say you want to leave a legacy of wisdom while refusing growth. You cannot say you want to leave a legacy of faith while living disconnected from your convictions. Legacy is not built by slogans. Legacy is built by consistency. It is built by the repeated alignment of your values and your behaviors. That is what makes legacy so intentional. It is not what you say you care about once in a while. It is what your life repeatedly demonstrates. So let's briefly talk about psychology and self-improvement layers. Because psychologically, intentional living matters because human beings drift toward what is immediate, easy, and visible unless they are anchored by something deeper. We naturally chase comfort. We naturally respond to urgency. We naturally get distracted by temporary things. So if you do not intentionally decide what kind of person you want to be and what kind of life you want to build, you can spend years busy, but not deeply meaningful. And that's a hard truth. You can be productive and still misaligned. You can be successful and still shallow. You can be admired and still leave very little of lasting value. That is why intentional legacy living requires reflection. It requires asking, what matters most? What values do I want my life to carry? What do I want my children, family, listeners, friends, co-workers, and community to feel and remember when they think of me? What am I actually building with the life I've been giving? And once you start asking those questions honestly, legacy stops feeling abstract. It becomes personal, it becomes present, it becomes something you can build beginning now. So let's slow down right here. I want you to sit with some questions, not casually, not quickly, but honestly. If today was your last day, what would people remember? Would they remember your love or just your labor? Would they remember your values or just your achievements only? Would they remember your presence or just your productivity? Would they remember that you cared or only that you stayed busy? What kind of legacy do you want your name to carry? When your name is spoken years and years from now, what do you want it to stir in people? Do you want it to stir gratitude, respect, strength, wisdom, compassion, faith, integrity, or courage? And here's another question. Are you investing most of your energy in things that last or things that fade? Because not everything deserves equal investment. Some things shine briefly and disappear. Some things look important but leave no lasting imprint. Some things consume time without producing real meaning. But love lasts, character lasts, influence lasts, value lasts, service lasts, truth lasts. The people you pour into last. So what have you been investing in? And if your current life does not fully align with the legacy you want to leave, the good news is this: you still have time to build differently. So here's the lesson of today's episode. Legacy is built daily. It is not one big moment. It is the little choices, the quiet sacrifices, the standards you keep, the consistency nobody applauds, the truth you live, the love you show, the discipline you practice, the wisdom you pass on, the examples you model. See, legacy is your fingerprint on eternity. It is what your life leaves in the lives of others. And that means you do not have to wait until you are older to think about legacy. You do not have to wait until you are wealthy. You do not have to wait until you are famous. You do not have to wait until you have reached some perfect milestone. You can begin now. Now with the way you speak, now with the way you forgive, with the way you show up, with the way you stay faithful, with the way you handle adversity, with the way you choose people over pride, with the way you live your values when nobody is rewarding you for it. Because every day is an opportunity to place another brick. So let me encourage you today. Do not underestimate the life you are living. Think about it. Do not underestimate the life you are living. Do not underestimate the quiet ways your example may be shaping others. Do not underestimate the power of consistency. Do not underestimate the significance of integrity. Do not underestimate the value of loving people well. Do not underestimate the impact of how you carry your name. Because some of the strongest legacies are not loud. They are steady. They are faithful. They are grounded. They are honest. They are present. They are intentional. And some of you need to hear this. You do not need a bigger platform to build a real legacy. You need a deeper life. You do not need more applauses to matter. You need alignment. You do not need everyone to know your name. You need the people your life touches to be better because you lived. That, my friend, is legacy. And maybe for some of you, this episode is a wake-up call. Not a call to fear death, but a call to live with meaning. A call to stop postponing what matters. A call to stop investing so heavily in what fades. A call to be more intentional with your words, your choices, your relationships, your examples, your influence. Because the truth is, one day, all of us will leave something behind. So the question is whether what we leave will carry substance. So today, ask yourself again, what will people remember when they say my name? Will they remember what I had or what I gave? Will they remember how impressive I looked or how intentionally I lived? Will they remember my possessions or my impact? Because legacy is not measured by what sat in your hand. It is measured by what flowed through your life into others. And if that truth settles in deeply, it changes the way you live. It changes how you treat people. It changes what you chase. It changes what you prioritize. It changes the kind of person you are becoming. So build something that outlives you. Build with truth. Build with love. Build with discipline. Build with faith. Build with courage. Build with integrity. Build with intention. And remember this, your legacy is not waiting for some future version of you to begin. It is being built by the choices you make right now. So start building today, not tomorrow, not one day, not when life finally gets less busy, but today. Because every day you live with purpose is another brick laid in something that may outlast your lifetime. So ask yourself, what kind of legacy do I want my name to carry? And am I living in alignment with that today? Sit with that, pray on that, reflect on that, grow through that, and keep becoming who you were created to be. So before we move forward, I want you to pause for just a moment. Take a breath. Wherever you are, whatever you're carrying, this next part is for you. Let's speak life over ourselves out loud if you can. Because what we say in this moment has the power to shift how we walk into the rest of our day. Let's begin with our affirmation. I am not defined by my past or limited by my mistakes. I am growing, learning, and becoming who I was created to be. I have values beyond titles, roles, and expectations. I choose honesty over fear and growth over comfort. I am allowed to change, heal, and evolve. I walk with purpose, clarity, and courage. I am becoming more aligned with my true self every day. And who I am is enough. So as we close today's episode, I want to thank you for taking this time for yourself. If something you heard inspired you, challenged you, or made you pause and reflect, please don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who may need it. Invite them into the conversation. See, this podcast grows when we grow together. I cannot do this without you. See, we grow together through shared stories, honest reflections, and real connections. Every listen, every share, every conversation helps create a community rooted in purpose, rooted in love, rooted in faith, rooted in hope, rooted in trust and truth. So until next time, keep reflecting, keep becoming, and remember, you matter. This is the Who Am I podcast, and let's walk this journey together.
Who am I? Yeah, I'm more than the pain, more than the pride. Who am I? Who am I? Walking in purpose, no mask, no disguise. This is my voice, my rise, my life. Welcome to Who Am I?